Chapter 1, 121, 7th year, Quill shopping. Friday, September 9th, 1977.
7 years. 7 years at this school, and I haven't learnt anything,
Remus said as he frantically looked for the right passage in his history books. There were 12 of them open, currently, and he couldn't remember which had the best counter-argument for the 1382 Pixie Relocation Act. 7 of the books lay open on the desk in front of him, taking up almost all of the space. 5 more hovered in mid-air, at eye level, so that he could check for references as he went.
If you haven't learnt anything, then what chance have the rest of us got?
Christopher smiled peacefully from his spot on the floor. He was sitting cross-legged, books on the carpet in front of him.
I haven't learnt anything useful,
Remus replied, impatiently, still searching.
How are we defining useful?
Anything that will help me pass my NEWTs.
Oh, because you really buggered up your OWLs.
Christopher tutted sarcastically.
NEWTs are completely different,
Remus countered, finally locating the passage he needed, now losing his quill.
Nastily exhausting.
He found his quill behind his ear, embarrassingly enough. But now...
Shit.
What?
Christopher looked up.
Lost my inkwell.
You ought to get one of those self-inking quills. We can look in Hogsmeade next weekend if you fancy.
Yeah, why not?
Remus continued lifting books.
Here, I've got a pencil, if it's just note-taking.
Christopher crawled underneath the desk now to find his book bag. Remus felt a bit guilty then for taking up all the space.
Sorry,
he said, stepping back from the madness for a moment.
It's fine. It'll all be fine once we get the study group up and running again.
Talking to yourself, Mooney?
James and Sirius appeared in Quidditch robes. Sirius was still officially off the team, but nothing was stopping him from using the pitch on-off. Days, and at least it kept him distracted.
Merlin's wrinkly ballsack,
Sirius said, staring at Remus's desk.
You can't have this much homework after the first week.
I'm reading around my subject,
Remus replied, irritable again.
Here you are, Remus.
Christopher reappeared from under the table, brandishing a pencil.
Cheers.
Remus took it and began to scribble away onto his parchment.
Oh, hello, Black.
Christopher nodded politely, ducking his head. Remus glanced up, mid-scribble. Sirius was looking at Christopher with a bored kind of disdain.
Hello.
He nodded. He looked at Remus.
Study group, is it?
No, just ordinary studying today,
Remus explained.
But I was just saying we ought to set up a meeting soon, if people still want to do it.
Of course they will,
Christopher said, eagerly.
You got half of us through our OWLs last year.
Yeah.
Sirius said out of the blue. He looked thoughtful, which was dangerous.
Yeah, I might join this year. What do you think, Prongs?
James looked up from the sofa, where he was polishing his broom.
Mate, I'm busy enough as it is. Sorry, Remus.
Remus shrugged. He looked at Sirius.
You'd hate being in a study group.
Well, I'll never know unless I try, will I? And you're always saying it's such an important year.
I've been saying that for the past 3 years, actually.
And it's finally sunk in.
Sirius grinned. That Sirius Black grin. Even with everything between them now, it was completely disarming.
Besides,
Sirius continued, looking at Christopher now.
I might be able to impart some of my wisdom.
Remus didn't argue it any further. He'd learnt his lesson. You couldn't tell Sirius anything. Just had to let him work it out for himself. And yes, he probably wanted to join the study group because Christopher was in it. But after all, Sirius had made the choice to keep the relationship quiet. Sirius was choosing to pretend that he really did want to do homework. Remus would just go along with it. In the meantime, Remus felt as though he was limping through the first half of the term. He had not been so overwhelmed by his curriculum since his first year. Everything seemed 10 times more involved than it had been the year before, and the essay requirements were at least 10 inches longer. He felt suddenly very guilty about spending the entire summer relaxing and pleasing himself, when all the while time had been ticking away. Even having dropped potions, astronomy and herbology, there was still arithmancy, history, charms, transfiguration, defense against the dark arts and care of magical creatures, all of which seemed to have reached new heights of complexity as the final year got into full swing, not to mention the extra lessons he was taking with Madame Pomfrey. Not for the first time, Remus was extremely glad he was no longer a prefect, as he found himself spending almost all of his time squirreled away in the bowels of the library, squinting over ancient texts with dust in his hair. He stayed through his free lessons, half of his lunch break, and more often than not was still there until Madame Pince chased him out. In the end, he was thrilled to meet up with his study group again, just to have a bit of human company.
There you are.
Christopher met him outside the Charms classroom after lessons on a Thursday. Professor Flitwick had been kind enough to hand over his classroom for another year.
"I've no doubt you'll have a classroom of your own one day, young Lupin,"
the tiny teacher had squeaked cheerily. Remus blushed and did not comment. One day his secret would be out. Everyone would know why he was not fit to teach, or even be in a school at all. And then what?
Here I am.
Remus replied to Chris with a smile.
Were you looking for me?
Not particularly. Just haven't seen much of you for the past week. Not even in the common room.
I've been there reading for an hour a night,
Remus said,
but only once the library is closed.
And before Sirius came down yawning at 1 o'clock, telling him to go to bed.
Admirable dedication.
Christopher nodded as they entered the room and began rearranging it to their liking.
But don't go too hard, okay? Try to enjoy your last year a bit.
I enjoy studying,
Remus said firmly, unpacking his books. This wasn't exactly a lie, but he knew he sounded defensive. The truth was, he knew he was working harder than he needed to, and for longer hours. But it was better than lying awake all night worrying about the various other problems that plagued him. He still hadn't heard from Grant, though that could just be the vagaries of Muggle Post. He hadn't given any proper thought to his mother yet, though he knew he really ought to. There had been 3 reports of werewolf attacks over the summer and 1 arrest made. When it came down to it, NEWTs were the only thing Remus thought he could really cope with at the moment, and he didn't actually think anyone had really missed him exactly. After all, they were very busy too. Lily and James had a whole host of new responsibilities on top of their NEWTs. Lily was taking advanced potions, James had Quidditch. Peter and Dorcas were on again, off again, but it seemed to keep him pretty occupied, and Marlene was working harder than ever this year in the lead up to her Healer Academy entrance exams. Mary, of course, had a new boyfriend, which kept her busy.
You need a break.
Christopher was saying, taking his own seat next to Remus, like his second in command.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Remus nodded, as if he was really taking it in. It was all right for Christopher. He was a pureblood. Even if he didn't work as hard as he did, there was probably a cushy ministry job waiting for him once he finished school. If Remus worked every hour of the day and got an O in every NEWT, he still didn't see much of a future beyond part-time work and depending on his friends for help. That's if Greyback didn't get him first, or if the ministry didn't lock him up. The other students began arriving, so they could stop talking about it. It was a smaller group than last year, but still a good round dozen. You couldn't expect everyone to show up for the first week. Sirius did come, much to Remus's surprise, and the girls' delight.
Sit here, Sirius.
Martha Erickson, a 5th-year Hufflepuff, waved at him. Sirius smiled politely and acquiesced, placing himself directly opposite Remus in the horseshoe of desks. Remus nodded at him and tried not to hold eye contact for too long before gently clearing his throat and addressing the room.
Hi, everyone.
He smiled, looking about.
Nice to see you all back. Shall we start by picking a subject? Anyone struggling with anything?
The 5th years were all having a bad time with astronomy, and Christopher volunteered to walk them through Eudoxus's theories on planetary movements. 3 of the 6th years were stuck on a history essay, and the 2nd years wanted help with transfiguration.
Okay.
Remus said to the 6th years,
If you lot can wait a bit, I'll just get these 2 going on the transfiguration stuff first.
I can do that,
Sirius said suddenly.
Really?
Remus blinked, raising a skeptical eyebrow.
Really?
Sirius replied coolly.
I'm better at transfiguration than you anyway.
Oh, okay then.
The 2 2nd years looked very pleased to have Sirius Black, whose reputation as school rebel and general heartthrob preceded him, paying them attention, though Martha Erickson looked a bit peeved. The session, booked in for 2 hours, went very well, in Remus's opinion. He tried not to hover over Sirius too much, though there was a lot of laughter and noise coming from that corner of the room. By the end, everyone seemed to have achieved whatever they had wanted to achieve, and Sirius even stayed behind to help tidy the room.
Will you be okay here?
Christopher asked Remus.
I'm supposed to be patrolling with Lily.
We'll be fine,
Sirius said, with what he probably thought was a very sweet smile, but was bordering on mania.
Okay, good.
Christopher gave him a haughty glance before returning to Remus.
See you Saturday for stationery shopping.
Great, yeah. Meet you in the common room after breakfast.
Remus nodded, helping Sirius push a desk back into place.
See you?
As soon as the door closed, Sirius stopped what he was doing and placed his hands on his hips, scowling.
You're going to Hogsmeade with him?
I said I would.
Remus frowned, taken aback.
I need a new quill. What's the problem? I can meet you lot after we shop for quills, can't I?
But I thought you and me would... I've hardly seen you this week.
We wouldn't be alone. James and Peter would be there. It's not like I'm taking anything away from you.
Lily and James will be off by themselves, and Peter and Dorcas, probably.
Sirius was in real danger of pouting now. Remus knew he ought to try and avoid a sulk, if he could.
You can join me and Christopher if you want,
he said. Sirius grimaced.
Stationery shopping.
You need quills too. The only reason I keep running out is because you pinch all of mine.
But Mooney...
You're not jealous, are you?
Of course not.
Sirius shook his head and returned to the desks, using his wand to return everything to order. He sighed heavily.
I'll come stationery shopping then.
Remus felt a pang of guilt.
I'll see if I can get rid of Chris after. Or we could find the others and go for a drink.
I'm not going to Madame Puddifoot's,
Sirius said darkly, a hint of humour returning to his face. Remus smiled and slapped him on the shoulder.
Good. Or I'd have to stop fancying you.
As if you could.
Sirius took his wrist and pulled him closer, kissing him hard on the lips. Oh, Remus thought. We haven't done this in a while. He felt really guilty then. Perhaps Sirius was right. He'd been so wrapped up in everything else, he'd neglected the one thing that might have made it all a bit more bearable. They pulled apart, and Sirius glanced at the door, licking his lips.
Do you have to run off to the library or somewhere?
Remus shook his head. Sirius grinned.
Good. Colloportus.
The lock in the door clicked shut. Saturday, September 17th, 1977.
Have you charmed your bloody curtains shut, you lunatic?
James' voice woke Remus and Sirius the Saturday of the Hogsmeade trip. Remus sat up bolt upright, eyes wide. He stared at the curtains, which shook as James attempted to get in. Sirius took a more casual approach, rolling over slowly and groaning.
Bugger off, Potter.
You'll miss breakfast.
Be down in a bit.
Hogsmeade today, remember? Common room at 10 o'clock sharp.
Piss off, Prongs.
Charming.
James muttered, but the curtains stopped shaking, and in a few moments his footsteps could be heard receding, disappearing down the stairs. Remus exhaled. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his heart thudding hard, and willed it to calm down.
Christ.
He breathed.
Bit jumpy there, Mooney.
Sirius grinned, rolling onto his back and stretching his arms over his head.
I really need to stop falling asleep here.
You're fine. The charm held, didn't it?
You and James have boundary issues.
Remus pulled back the heavy bedclothes.
Probably. Hey, don't go.
Sirius reached out for his arm.
Breakfast.
Remus insisted, fishing about for his underwear. They washed, dressed, and hurried down to the great hall, just in time for the last few scraps of toast and a few dollops of porridge.
I expect it of black, but it's not like you to miss a meal, Remus,
Lily commented, skimming her copy of the Daily Prophet.
I was up late reading,
Remus said.
I can have a lie-in on a Saturday if I want.
Wasn't saying you couldn't.
She tutted, as if he was being oversensitive. She lowered the paper.
I was patrolling with Christopher Barley yesterday evening. He mentioned you were going to Hogsmeade together today.
Oomph.
Remus looked up at her gormlessly, mouth full of toast and honey. What fresh hell. Everyone was looking at him suddenly, with varying degrees of amused curiosity. He swallowed.
Yeah. Just to Scrivenshafts. I need a new quill.
Get on quite well, don't you?
Lily asked, innocently.
We do the study group together.
Did he ask you, Remus?
Mary joined in.
What's that got to do with anything?
Oh, come on.
She grinned.
Chris is definitely, that way. He's so camp.
Is he?
Remus asked uncomfortably.
I hadn't noticed. We're just buying quills, nothing else.
But if he fancies you...
Merlin, leave him alone, will you?
Sirius said hotly, glaring at both girls.
Just because Christopher is whatever doesn't mean Mooney automatically has to go out with him. He's not that desperate.
Oi.
Remus said, relieved by the interruption.
Who says I'm desperate at all?
Exactly.
Sirius nodded.
See? He's not interested.
Oh, but Chris is really nice,
Lily said.
I thought you'd make a good couple. Similar interests and whatnot.
Maybe Mooney doesn't want to go out with someone similar.
Sirius interjected, setting down his coffee mug a bit harder than necessary. Remus surreptitiously put a hand on his knee under the table, hoping to quiet him. Sirius glanced at him, then looked down at his plate. Thankfully, he got the message.
You can't let stuff like that bother you.
Remus whispered on the way back to the common room as soon as the others were out of earshot.
It should bother you.
Sirius replied, still wound up.
Yeah, but you need to learn to be more subtle if we're going to.
Oh, we're back to this again.
Sirius sighed, heavily.
I'm sorry I'm not as good at all this undercover bullshit as you are.
What?
Remus stared at him. Sirius shoved his hands in his pockets and muttered.
Nothing.
He sped up, catching up with James and leaving Remus to walk by himself.
Everything okay?
Lily slowed down, as James and Sirius began chattering animatedly ahead of them.
Fine,
Remus replied. He was in a mood now. Who did Sirius think he was, complaining about how difficult it was to keep secrets, when it was all his idea to keep the relationship quiet in the first place? He ought to just go off with Chris and ignore Sirius for the rest of the day. That would serve him right.
What did he say?
Lily was asking.
Sirius.
Lily nodded ahead at the two black-haired boys in front.
Is he being a prat? Because I will give James permission to box his ears if he's acting weird about you being...
Oh no, nothing like that.
Remus waved a hand and forced on a smile.
It was something else. Stupid stuff, don't worry.
Christopher was waiting in the common room, a shy smile on his face. Remus smiled back, bounding over to him.
Ready?
He asked brightly.
Yeah.
Chris nodded, excited.
I've got a list of books I wanted to look for too, if that's okay with you. I mean, if you have time, before you have to meet your friends.
You're my friend too, Chris,
Remus said, hoping Sirius overheard. It was a nice day out, sunny for late September, with only a very faint chill in the air, meaning that by the time the students had trekked down to the village, most of them were warm enough to have removed their heavy cloaks. Remus kept his on, because he rarely took off any layers, but Chris shrugged his off once they reached the first row of shops.
Ooh, look at him!
A sharp wolf whistle sounded behind them. They both spun around to see Barty Crouch and Regulus Black not far away, both snickering meanly.
Ignore them.
Chris muttered to Remus.
They're in my potions class. They're dickheads.
Come on,
Remus said.
Let's see your list.
They passed a pleasant couple of hours together untroubled by anyone. Remus bought one of the fancy self-inking quills, as well as an ordinary one as a backup. They went to the bookshop next, and Christopher bought so much that he had to perform a weightlessness charm on the bag just to carry it all back.
My trunk's nearly full already,
he laughed.
What with all of the Muggle books I brought with me. Have you read Other Voices, Other Rooms?
No, I didn't do much reading this summer.
Everything was going pretty well until they decided to head for the 3 broomsticks as a final stop. Remus was feeling almost like forgiving Sirius by now, having calmed down, though he was a bit apprehensive about seeing the others with Christopher.
Lily said you'd told her about us coming to Hogsmeade,
he said casually. Christopher furrowed his brow.
Yeah, I think it just came up in conversation.
You know she's one of my best friends,
Remus said, hoping he didn't sound too much like he was accusing Chris of anything.
So, she knows I'm queer.
She knows I am too,
Christopher said.
Or, I assume she does. Most people figured it out before me, I think. Lily's a really nice girl, though.
Yeah, right.
Remus nodded.
Thing is, I think she thought this was, you know, like we were coming to Hogsmeade together. So, just, if we see my friends, they might act a bit funny.
Oh,
Chris said, looking confused.
Okay, would you rather we didn't go to the pub, in case they're there?
No,
Remus said, quickly. He knew he was making a pig's ear of explaining himself.
I just meant...
Here they come!
That mean voice interrupted them again. They'd just turned a corner and found their path blocked by the two sixth-year Slytherins.
Oh, get lost, will you?
Remus sighed impatiently.
Go and find someone else to annoy.
Watch out, loony Lupin.
Regulus cackled.
Chrissy boy, there is a knob gobbler.
Chris turned bright red and looked at his feet. In a fit of rage, Remus withdrew his wand and adopted a duelling stance.
Piss off, Black,
he shouted.
or I'll tell Mummy you still play Quidditch.
Regulus scowled and pulled out his own wand.
Yeah.
Another voice added.
And I'll tell all your creepy mates how you wet the bed until you were 10.
Sirius appeared at Remus's shoulder. Remus laughed.
Is that true?
Yup.
Shut up.
Regulus burst out angrily. He didn't go red when he was embarrassed, but turn a shade paler.
Flagrante.
Protego.
Sirius yelled, deflecting the curse just in time.
Just you wait.
Regulus growled, backing away.
What are you going to do? Give me detention.
Sirius laughed.
I'm quaking in my boots. Run along, little brother.
Regulus clenched his fists.
You're no brother of mine.
He spat as he turned and stalked away, Barty following him, looking annoyed that he hadn't had his own fun.
Suits me,
Sirius said quietly under his breath. He turned to Remus and Chris.
3 broomsticks?